For this multimodal assignment, I decided to analyze the article American Horror Story, The Cecil Hotel, written by Josh Dean in 2015 for the Matter magazine in the Medium publication. It describes and analyzes all pieces of evidence in the case of Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old student that was found dead in a hotel in Los Angeles. Dean emphasizes the role of social media in making this case gather such public interest. The context of the story is described in the article itself. For example, in this passage, the author describes the environment in Skid Row, which is the neighborhood in Los Angeles where the action takes place. Therefore, all independent research of context didn't affect the original interpretation that I had of the article. This article presents a lot of characteristics of good nonfiction. For example, the author's word choice depicts a tone and atmosphere of mystery and fear, which is pretty accurate for the story that's being described. Also, the author uses a good balance between dramatic and summary methods when describing scenes. An example of a dramatic method would be the description of Skid Row that we saw before, and a good example of a summary method would be when the author describes the steps that Elisa is taking in the elevator in a video that was recorded a few moments before her disappearance. He just makes an account of the events without describing the scene itself, which makes a faster narrative that increments the mystery and action of the scene. Therefore, it's really effective for conveying emotions in the reader. In regards to my own interpretive bias of the piece, I could relate a lot with this story, not because I have been through something similar, but because I recently took a trip to Los Angeles for Thanksgiving, which is what the protagonist of the story did, and she also happens to be a female, and we are relatively around the same age. Her parents were also from Hong Kong, which is where I lived for 2 years, and in Hong Kong there was a place called Chungking Mansions that had a similar reputation to the Cecil Hotel. Therefore, I felt like I could picture this place in my mind while I was reading. This made me a bit surprised that such a mysterious case could happen in things that seem so close to me. However, because I also love CSI and mystery shows, I tended to lean towards wanting that this case had a paranormal or a mysterious explanation rather than the more rational one that the author presents. The author also accounts for this bias, and he exemplifies that the story could take different turns according to the personality of the reader, whether that person is more logical or if it's more of a free spirit. The author itself presents a lot of interpretive bias too, because first he is really involved in the case to the point that he goes and visits the hotel to see himself the scene of the crime, and he spends hours looking for different theories about this mystery. He selects the stories that he chooses to portray. For example, here he makes an interview with Lucas Clokian, a Canadian blogger, and this activity of interviews always leads to certain biases according to the information that the author wants to convey. However, his experience in the hotel is highly different to the ones that he has written about. Therefore, he believes that the hotel is normal. This could lead him to believe the more logical explanation that, according to him, makes sense, even though it doesn't make much sense at all. The logical explanation was that she suffered from a psychotic episode that led her to climb into the water tank and accidentally fall on it, which is where she was found dead. The author concludes by saying that the reality about things we write online is that they live on abstract, because whatever we read or perceive afterwards take on the color of its context. I think this reflection is really appropriate to the topic we are discussing in class, because we all bring our own context into interpretation of any piece, and especially when this piece is stored, it's something as long-lasting as the internet.